So I've been in and out of the dark night of the soul for 3 times now, and I realized that the faster I was able to let go of my attachment, the faster I was able to end my dark night. The problem is being aware of what you're attached to is not easy when you are in the dark night itself. I will give you an example from my life. My first dark night, I left my accounting job to pursue my passion in animation, only to find out that 3 months later in my new animation job that it wasn't for me. Then I became depressed and lost, and I didn't know what to do with my life anymore. On one hand, I have given up this old egoic identity. I'm no longer interested in being an animator or accountant, but on the other hand, I have not fully connected and embraced this spiritual self. I don't know what I desire to do from the deep soul level. So I'm in this limbo stage. I'm neither here nor there. On the surface, it doesn't seem like I was attached to anything, right? I didn't have an identity, I didn't have a job, but I was still actually attached to something. I was attached to having a job. A job gave me identity, it gave me a sense of worth, it gave me meaning. The reason why I was stuck in depression was because I was still trying to find another job to define me, to give me meaning in life. On a spiritual level, it doesn't matter whether you have a job or not. You are still you are still the being, you are still breathing. Whether you are a nurse, a police officer, a writer, or a singer, your heart is still beating. Your spirit is pretty much alive, isn't it? The job that we use to define ourselves, like I am an accountant, I'm supposed to be analytical and good with numbers, or I am an animator, I'm supposed to be creative. This doesn't truly define what my spiritual essence is. I can still be creative, analytical, good with numbers, with or without a job. Many of us, when we are in the dark night of the soul, we think that something is missing. We need to find this new identity. But when we are trying to find this new identity, find the way out, we are still attached. We're still attached to the outcome. When I just stop resisting having no job, no identity, what my spirit wants to do is revealed to me, writing. So I started writing blog posts and books again, and my dark night of the soul was just lifted. My depression ended within 2 months, and people are like, how come you can end your depression so fast? Like, yeah, it's so fast. Like, your spirit is always there. When you let go of the thing that you're attached to, that is preventing you from connecting with your spirit, you naturally get connected with your spirit. I find that every dark night of the soul causes you to let go of some attachment. Your soul is expanding towards a bigger desire, a higher version of you. But when you don't allow yourself to go there, you will be stuck in the dark night of the soul. Is it of any surprise to me that my spirit wants to write? No. At that time, I had already written my first book. I was just afraid to write the second one. I was attached to this belief that I need a full-time job to make a living. A job gave me identity and self-worth. It was easier for me to tell other people what I do when I have a job. And I couldn't see how I could make a living with my writing. So I resisted the idea, which means that I resisted my soul's desire to expand to what it truly desires. So what are you attached to? If you have chronic illness or you have injuries from an accident, it could be your spirit is calling you to let go of your identification with your physical body. If your dark night is caused by losing your job, your finances, and your home, it could mean that you have to let go of your identification with tangible stuff or material stuff. I'm not saying here that you can't have those things. You can still find a job, earn an income, and get a home, but you won't be overly attached to them. This attachment is what causes the pain and suffering. Or maybe your dark night is caused by losing someone you love. It could be a divorce, death of a loved one like your spouse or your child, or breakup. For me, my second and third dark night of the soul has to do with relationships. My second dark night is about attachment to love from the outside. I often find myself in a one-sided relationship where I was fond of someone, but the other person wasn't interested in me. And this is very similar to my first dark night. The job doesn't work, so I find another one. This time round, is the person doesn't love me, so I go to the next one. The thing I was attached to wasn't the job or the person, it's the belief that love comes from someone else. I need other people to love me or be in a relationship before I can be happy. But my spirit is calling me to the love that is within me. This is who I am. And when I realized that I don't focus too much on getting love from other people, I detach, I let go, and focus more on the love within, I ended up writing this book called Reconnect to Love. And this is not limited to romantic relationships. It also applies to social relationships and friendship. The egoic part of me was still wanting other people to understand me, to validate me and my experience. I felt lonely and invisible when I was left out in social settings. Do you have the same experience? When you are in the dark night of the soul or spiritual awakening, you're still yearning for others to understand you, understand what you're going through, understand your struggles, and validate your experiences. And when they don't, that makes you feel very lonely and maybe even frustrated. This is precisely the thing that you need to let go of to progress in your spiritual journey. Because this yearning and this longing is your egoic attachment to approval and validation from other people. Your spirit doesn't need other people to understand you to thrive. It's connected with everyone from a deep spiritual level. Your ego is the one that needs the validation and the approval to maintain a certain narrative and identity. And when I let go of all this attachment to seeking love and validation from outside of me, I met my twin flame. My third dark night of the soul has to do with twin flame separation. But this dark night, I would say, didn't begin until last year when my twin flame went back to his hometown. I met my twin flame 5 years ago. We are good friends, and initially it was great. I felt very safe and protected around him. We get each other. The vibe between us was good until the trigger came. And my intuition tells me to leave and let go of my attachment. And so I listened to my intuition and I left his group, which I frequently went to. Initially, I thought that my attachment was to him, the person, or maybe the attention he had given me. But then years later, I realized it was much deeper than that. When he left for his hometown, home country, I got these unexplainable panic attacks out of nowhere. This separation anxiety that I was experiencing was from our past life. I have talked more about this in detail in one of my previous videos, so I'm not going to go too deep here. But basically, when he was away, I was hurt and burned alive by some people in my past life. It was only recently that I have this intuitive insight that what I was attached to was his masculine energy, his protective energy. And I need to let go of my attachment to his masculine energy so that I could cultivate my own masculine energy. It's kind of funny how the universe works. My dad, who is the overprotective figure in the family, the decision maker in the family, passed away in 2022. And then my twin flame went back to his hometown in 2023. I was put in this situation where I cannot depend on other people to be the masculine energy in my life. I have to learn to be more protective of myself and be more decisive and more focused in what I do so that I could have a more balanced kind of energy. And I also realized that I was a little judgmental of my own masculine energy. Whenever there's too much planning or too much logic and analysis, sometimes even in my own work, like writing a blog post or even like creating a video like this, it makes me feel very stuck and trapped. And this is exactly how I feel about my twin flames sometimes. This trigger that my twin flames represent mirror what I was going through inside of me. And I have some work to do on myself instead of getting him to change. And when I understand the attachment I need to let go of and what my spirit is calling me to do, all this panic attack and dark night of the soul just went away completely. I realized from my own experience, the more intense the dark night is, the shorter it is, the faster it ends. The first one, I have all those crazy emotions. I had depression and panic attacks, but it only lasted for 2 months. And the last one, I had a couple of panic attacks and some intense emotion. It lasted for about 3 to 4 months. The second dark night of the soul lasted for years. I didn't go through a big emotional roller coaster like the other two, but it lasted longer. I think it's because when you reach the rock bottom, the only way is up. The only way is to let go of your attachment and surrender. When you feel more emotionally intense, you're also more aware that something needs to be changed. While when you are emotionally flat, you don't feel much, you may not see the attachment that you need to let go of, or you may not see what your spirit is calling you towards. And of course, this is just based on my own personal experiences. I have read that people have suffered intense dark night of the soul for years without finding any relief. It's really about knowing what your egoic attachments are and let go of them. And when you are in such a dark and heavy place, sometimes it's not easy to see what your attachments are. You're not in the right frequency, and so you can't see what your spirit can see or hear what your spirit is trying to tell you. Also, I just want to say that just because you come out of the dark night of the soul, it doesn't mean that you will never be triggered again. I still get triggered sometimes when I felt like I was left out of groups or when my work isn't doing well. The only difference is the attachment is gone. The big heavy emotion and resistance has been let go of. You're more connected with your spiritual self instead of your egoic self for that particular topic. You will snap back to your spiritual self very quickly, even if you find yourself falling back to the egoic perspective. To find out more, watch this next video.